Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel, ASK the PA. This video is long overdue. Someone requested that I do a video on how I study for my science courses and how to do well in them. I was really busy these past couple of months. You know, I had summer school and I also work full-time. Also, I shadowed at a pediatric surgery hospital, and that was a great experience, but it was just so much. So now that I have a few weeks before school starts, I'm currently studying for the GRE and I'm able to do a few videos, so watch out for them. So like when I first started college, I didn't do as well in my science courses. Like when I was 18 years old, I started college and I really didn't do as well as I would have liked. And it's not really because I'm smarter now, or, you know, I mean, I studied smarter and I learned different techniques, but I feel like I still had the same intelligence back then. So I don't think it's a matter of, you know, if you're smart or you're dumb. Like, it's really just how you study for these courses. I really believe that I can get A's, and you can get A's in any of these science courses if you really learn how to study for them properly, you know. And also, I was like the first person in my family to go to college, and that's probably some of your same experiences, so you're probably learning as you go. And I definitely made some mistakes along the way, but it's made me like an even smarter person. I'm wiser, you know, and now I'm getting the grades that I should have gotten a long time ago. So far with my post-bac, I've managed to get all A's, 4.0, so I'm really happy about that. And I'm going to go over a few of the study tips that I use to make sure that I'm successful in my courses. Okay, so when you study for your classes, the last thing that you want to do is freak out and start going crazy and stress out and just become very overwhelmed over your classes. That's the last thing that you want to do. So you have to make sure that you are smart about your study habits and you're, you know, keeping up with a really great routine, instead of like trying to cram a week before the exam, and then when you actually take the exam you probably forget everything because everything is just crammed in there. It's going to be hard for your brain to actually retrieve that information because you're stuffing everything in your brain all at once. So the first study tip that I have is to not procrastinate. Do not procrastinate and do not cram. It just does not work for science courses, because even if you manage to do okay in these courses and maybe get a B or whatever, you have to remember that you should know this information because it builds on each other. So if you take biology 1 and you cram the whole way through and you didn't get certain concepts, you're probably going to struggle when you go on to the next level, maybe biology, or maybe if you take Chem 1 and you cram throughout that class, it's going to be hard for you going on to Chem 2. So you have to make sure that you're pacing yourself and you're just learning small bits of information every day. Like, I used to be very intimidated by the information, so I would just kind of push it aside and I would be like, yeah, you know, I'll get back to that. Let me focus on something that's easier. You know, I'm really good with English and writing and all that stuff, so I would focus on the stuff that I knew and things that I knew that I would do well in, because it would make me feel like I'm actually doing something, I'm actually being productive, but I'm not. So you have to spend more time on the stuff that's the hardest for you, like the most challenging. So every day you have to make sure you're studying a little bit, bits and pieces of information from that really hard class that you're struggling with. So my next tip is to go to class. Like, I mean, that's like a no-brainer, but you know, I know when you first start college, sometimes especially if you live in the dorms. I used to live in the dorms, and I mean, I was a good student, but I can't say that I went to class every single day. I really didn't. And now I don't miss any classes. There's not one class that I miss, because when you miss a class, you just miss out on a whole bunch of information, because usually what the professor goes over, that's what you're really supposed to pay attention to. What I used to try and do is say, oh, well, I'll just read the book. But no, that's a really bad idea. I would never suggest that you just sit there and read the whole chapter, because that's just not going to help you out. What helps me out is to go to class, listen to the professor, and write notes. And whatever they go over in class, that's usually what's going to be on the exam. You know, I stopped trying to read the entire book and actually focus on the concepts. You know, not read word for word everything. You know, that's just going to take more time and you're just going to be overwhelmed. So focus on the actual concepts that the professor goes over, instead of trying to read the whole entire book. So just make sure you don't miss any class. Don't be lazy, because you don't want to, the worst thing to do is retake a class, and you do not want to do that. So make sure you go to class, take really good notes, and after class, make sure you actually go over your notes and don't just like throw them to the side. And even, I forgot to mention, before you even go to class, you should be skimming over your PowerPoints to make sure that you kind of understand what the professor is going to be talking about for that day. You may not know, you may not fully understand the topic, but maybe like watch a YouTube video or just read over the PowerPoint and just get an idea of what you're going to go over, so you're not looking all lost and crazy in class. You know, you want to be able to ask questions, and that requires you to at least have like a small foundation and know, kind of what the professor is going to be going over for the day. So definitely go to class, read before you go to class, or skim over the PowerPoints and watch YouTube videos. So YouTube videos are very helpful. There's so many different links out there that you can watch. I'm going to post a couple of them below this video, or you can follow my Instagram. I put a long list on there. So yeah, use those as your tools before and after class to study. So my next tip is to use your resources. They definitely take money out of your tuition to pay for these resources, so you have to make sure that you utilize them. That includes tutoring, going to see your advisor. If you're really stuck on something, maybe they can direct you to the right department. They have writing center, just different tools to help you become a very successful student. When I was in chemistry, I definitely went to tutoring almost every single day, especially because we had my chemistry lab, or whatever it's called, and tutoring really helped me like get a good grade in chemistry. So just make sure that you're going and you're getting the help that you need, because you are paying for it. Also, going to the professor's office hours is actually a very wise thing to do, because they're the person that's making the exam. Like, just think about it. Like, why wouldn't you want to get the information from the source? They're making the exam, and sometimes they can't help themselves. Like, they like to hear themselves talk, and they may give you like certain topics that's going to be on the exam. They may like hint to you, okay, make sure that you know this. So it's definitely a good idea to go and see your professor, and plus they'll get to know you on a personal level. That way, if you need a recommendation from them later on, they're able to write one for you, and write a really good one, because they do actually know you. Also, maybe you're like 1 point away from a really good grade, and they'll probably give you that point because they'll be like, okay, well, I've seen this person come to office hours, they've been working very hard, they deserve this extra point. You know, so it's definitely great to see your professor, go to tutoring. Also, you can form study groups. Like, personally, I don't really love study groups. I mean, there's a group of people that, you know, maybe I'll work on homework with them, or, you know, they'll help me in that way. But I'm not really big on study groups because I feel like people confuse me sometimes. Like when I don't know it and you don't know it and we're both trying to figure it out, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. Like usually I get into a study group if I know like the information and I can explain it to you, you know, then I'll form the study group. But usually if I'm lost, I'll probably go to tutoring or the professor. That's just me personally. But I mean, it's good to review if you have time, you know, with other people that are in your class. And it also helps with networking because sometimes you don't know about certain resources or certain tools, and they'll probably hook you up or tell you, you know, what's what. So, I mean, definitely use your peers as a resource also.